gift of speaking, gift of the gab.
So you have the gift of the gab.
Right.
Good.
2, I have a gift of remembering things.
Excellent.
So whatever I read, whatever
remember.
interview I go to, I can actually, speak on the information, select the information, and the words come out marching like an army. All right. And then also amongst the gifts I've been given, I also have a gift of being a vocalist. I've got a powerful voice, right? And most importantly, I know how to use it. So I've got a range. I can go as high as B flat, I can go as low as E flat in terms of the scale. So I'm saying out of those 3 gifts that I've discovered in my lifetime, I chose one, which is the speaking gift.
The gift of the gab.
The gift of the gab. And that's the gift that burns me the most inside. And it's the gift that allows me to serve it to the world and actually zoom into what I hate the most about the injustices of the world, and therefore address those injustices with my gift, with that gift.
In fact, my learned co-presenter has also had the same gift as you, but added to one more,
Right.
the gift of good looks.
Power.
No, I got the gift of the gab. I got a gift of good looks. I got a gift of great character. I got no, I was a bit
Good voice.
I'm joking with you, but you're 100% correct, and I agree with you. But I think leaders are, some of them I think are made during the process of the experiences through life. You become made, but most of them are born with that fire in which you identify injustices. Nelson Mandela, where you identify right from wrong,
Yes.
where you're not afraid to be the one in the class that stands up and say, "Excuse me, sir, what you're saying is incorrect."
Right.
You then immediately become identified as the leader.
So
you at conference, I must tell you something. I'm reading a book, The Traveler by Tebe Ekaleng.
right.
I heard him on radio as well, just as powerful as you are. And now, listening to him, that's a leader like you are.
Sure.
I mean, when you start opening your mouth, and I can't fool around with this talk. I'm asking questions that's gonna test his intelligence.
Indeed.
Now, also coming to that aspect, you said that people are born with these gifts, and it depends the choices they make. But you said something significant in the beginning. You said that you were born and brought up in the small rural town and township, and you realized that you had this gift. But hasn't your environment and your surroundings also played a huge role in enhancing this gift of yours? Because again, if we had to take you, say, to a complete different setting or a different town or a different country or a different environment or a different culture, and you will be subjected to a complete different upbringing.
Correct.
And that might mold you into a complete different individual.
So circumstances play a big role, all right, in the choices that
you make.
a leader makes or a person makes. For example, I always tell people the reason why you are either a Muslim or a Zulu traditionalist or a Christian is because you were born in South Africa, right? If you were born, for example, in China or Japan, we would be talking something different. You still need to make certain choices about your spirituality, but most likely, in fact, highly likely, it would only be Buddhism available. And
True, 100%.
Correct. So I do concede to that, Dr. Jeewa. Your circumstances play a role in the choices you make. So I guess I'm saying that the gifts you come to planet Earth with, right, are basically the gifts that make you the leader. When you choose one of them, of course, you can't do all of them. You choose one of them. The others sort of are in the periphery, of course, but you choose one, and then that leadership that you show, that excellence you show in that gift makes you the leader. Well, at least people start following you,
Exactly.
calling you a leader. Yeah.
Now, with the years of experience that you have, what do you consider your biggest professional or career achievement so far? And what has been the most surprising thing about your career?
Right. In 2014, I was part of an organization that was focusing on work readiness in the youth 18 to 34. And I remember that when I joined that organization in 2013, they had a 10,000 goal right, to place young people in South Africa who are at risk of long-term unemployment. So they cannot find a job because they don't have experience, and they don't have experience because they can't find a job. So it becomes a
circle of.
Correct.
Yeah.
In 2014, exactly a year later, I remember that we actually doubled that goal.
Oh, wow.
We reached that goal. And here I'm talking 20,000, I think it was 25,000, place young people in South Africa who come from poor backgrounds, right, who are at risk of being unemployed almost the rest of their lives. And these are permanent jobs. These were not seasonal jobs. These were not fixed term contracts. These were permanent employments. And they were placed among our partners in the different sectors.
Well, that's fantastic. So you actually must have logistically arranged that.
Well, I was part of a team.
Well, part of the team, but you led the team, right?
I would say the bigger part I played in that was actually the sourcing part, because I would connect with the communities, I would partner with the municipalities for their halls, I would partner with the councillors, the mayors, you name it. Wherever there was a demand, we would then identify the catchment area. That catchment area needed to be one taxi away, so that the youth gets on one taxi and comes to work and doesn't spend money in the
amazing
transport. Yeah. But I was part of the team still.
Now, how did it unfold now when you decided to get into books, writing books? Because some very interesting books I see here, one called The Art and Science of Leadership, and another one, The Leadership Journal for Reflection, and The DNA of Income Generating Youth and Graduates. Just give us a brief synopsis of what these books are about.
I figured that if I only speak on podiums and teach in conferences and engage in Socratic dialogues, in seminars, you name it, I'm going to be limited.
You'll be living out a proportion of the community.
Sure. So one of the proxies I then decided to actually incorporate was authorship, because it means that I can then hang my thoughts and whatever research I've done onto these proxies, and they will speak on my behalf out there. The first book, which is The Art and Science of Leadership, there I argue and define what is leadership. And I say that for a human being on planet Earth to become a leader and sustain that leadership, they actually have to have three human constructs that are unconditional and mandatory. So it's not conditional. I mean unconditional. You need to have them. And these are a progressive mindset, radically progressive mindset, a strong belief, number two, in your natural abilities.
Absolutely.
And three, you protect these two with your strong commitment to unshakable values. And that was the first book. The second one, I wrote a book on personal mastery for leaders. It's called The Leadership Journal for Reflection. So it's basically a 365-day book where a leader gets to reflect daily on their leadership, 5 to 10 minutes every day, and then you journal, you write down your thoughts and so on. And then the third one, which you mentioned, is the DNA of income generating youth and graduates, because that experience of 2014 and the subsequent years, that whole experience made me say, let me document this. Let me write down the research 33 habits a young person in South Africa and the world must have in order to be able to create income. Now, it's not a book to get rich. I didn't write a book for people to get rich, but only a young person in South Africa to create income. What are the habits you need to have in order to do that? Then the fourth book is the one that I released on the 2nd of December, which is on last Monday, the Monday. It's called The Power of Stepping into the Unknown. In a way, it's my own journey into darkness. You know, Floyd Dostoevsky, he speaks about the shadow. Yes, he speaks about, confronting your shadow, confronting your darkness. So I made a decision in January of 2020, just before COVID, just before we even knew something called
COVID.
COVID, generally, to step into the unknown and actually take a journey that would stretch me beyond what I had achieved by then.
What was that?
It was going into a different province and create an office there and actually get there against all odds. And it taught me a lot about myself. A different province, a different culture, a different language. Now I speak that language, which is Sotho, a different culture with its own nuances, its own nuances. And what also attracted me to this province, which was the Free State in this case, in Bloemfontein, was that wherever there is chaos, and I'm saying there was chaos at the time, and to this day, there continues to be chaos.
There's still chaos.
From a leadership and governance point of view.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
in that chaos, there is opportunity. Opportunity for someone like me to come in and say, we can do it better. We can transform this by doing it this way, by applying these models, by co-opting such and such people to come and help the organization, the administration, the government in all its tiers, from local government to provincial government. This is what can be done. All right.
So do you work with government?
I do. I do.
And you didn't tell him your fifth book is a story of my life story called A Long Crawl to Freedom. No, I'm joking.
Right. So my fifth book is going to be called The Merchant of Wow. As I mentioned, it's really about the go-to people. The go-to people. Those people, those individuals in your organization, in your family, in your church, in your
that you can turn to when anything happens. Right?
Tell us more about that.
So I met my own transformation in 2004. I was still working back then, being an employee. And I remember that towards our closing for December, the manager of the branch said to us, there is a course that has been offered by the employer, the department, and who wants to go? Because it's in January, it starts on the 2nd of January. Everyone said, no, we don't want to go to that.
But one leader, they said, yes, you go.
I said, I'll go. That was 2004.
Yeah.
Changed my life. Completely changed
Seriously?
my life.
What was the cause?
What was the cause? The cause was I would be introduced that day for the first time to personal transformation and mastery.
Wow.
That cause. Fast forward to today, Dr. Jeewa, I'm now qualified and certified to teach personal mastery module 1 up to module 20. All right, in South Africa and beyond. I have the license, I have the content. In fact, I've developed most of the content. All right, and I now teach that to employees, to managers, executives, political leaders, you name it. Anyone who wants to grow and become a fully fledged true leader, transformational leader, transform other people, transform their environment. They join in that course.
What's some of the characteristics of personal mastery?
So basically, personal mastery asks the question, what's going on with you? Before you start blaming other people and judging other people, what's going on with me? And we introduced it in the sense of using one of two tools, the mirror and the window. So we encourage you as a leader in personal mastery, when things go right, you look out the window. You try and identify who I attach this success to in the team.
Absolutely.
But when things go wrong, as a leader, you quickly look at the mirror.
You don't toss blame.
From that basic, we get the first laws of personal mastery, like you don't know what you don't know.
I like that. And transformational leadership?
So transformational leadership is a branch of leadership. When we study leadership as a discipline, we get it as a branch, which, by the way, is the opposite of transactional leadership. So there is a bulk of leaders, and this is backed by data, a bulk of leaders who will never put their hand up unless they're going to get something out of it. But what we require in politics, in education, in communication, in transport, you name it. What we require are selfless leaders.
True. 100%.
Who will actually be there to transform the environment. They get transformed in the process, and then they transform others as well. Who actually have committed themselves that I will create a cohort of leaders who will take over after me. Right? So they invest into the future. One of my coaches.
How long would it take you to do 20 models? You do it over
20 days. That would be 20 days.
But then you can adapt it to a 3-day or 2-day conference, right?
Correct. And
I'm now thinking about youth.
Sure.
And I'm actually thinking about you.
With the youth, it can even take even less time because they've got energy and they are eager to learn. But yes, it can be adapted. Correct.
Because I love transpersonal mastery and transformational leadership.
And that
is very important.
Actually, sorry, I spoke over you. So that third book, actually, the DNA of income generating youth, is a personal mastery book. And those habits can only be gotten through a personal mastery journey.
Mm-hmm. Because I think we need to get our youth to understand what's leadership.
Right.
The role that you need to play when you want to become a leader.
Right.
Personal mastery has become very, very important in the process of becoming a transformational leader, right? So I'm thinking beyond what Dr. Jeewa was thinking, because he only thinks about teeth most of the time. That maybe I take it back.
Well, remember, you coming to see me 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, I must be careful because he'll hurt me. You know, they say you don't fool with your dentist, right?
Right.
Because he's got you under control. So maybe I'm thinking, and I'm thinking aloud, is that we should think about having a conference led by yourself for youth.
That would be great. That would be great.
Because that was going to be my next question. I mean, the younger generation, I assume, maybe I might be wrong, are becoming despondent because of our leadership. And people don't know which direction this country is going, as we don't have strong leaders.
Right.
So, I mean, what's the state of our youth today, and how can we make it different?
The foundations are out of order. The fundamentals are out.
I agree with you.
Let's start from there. We have a youth, especially the youth we have right now, who are called the Gen Zs.
The Gen Zs, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And if you look at the Gen Z report, the latest Gen Z report, you the plight because we have a future that is uncertain. We basically have a youth that is not ready for the challenges of tomorrow. We might not be there. I might not be there as an adult, right? In 20, 30 years time from now, I might not be here. But it is my responsibility to make sure that actually the youth that will be in charge tomorrow are trained today. Today is the day we must get the youth to actually buy into behavior change, mindset transformation, a life of service, a life of volunteering, and. So the state of our youth at the moment is not the greatest, but I still feel that the youth is full of potential. And it's just waiting to be tapped. That potential, just waiting to be tapped.
So you still got hope in the youth, right?
I do. And I mean, I don't remember who said this. When the student is ready, the teacher.
The teachers, yeah, absolutely
right.
Correct.
So I think maybe it could be the case, Dr. Jeewa, that the teachers are not there. So this station actually, Radio Al-Ansar, it can be, in fact, is one of those, teachers, one of those platforms where we can begin to say,
that's what we're thinking right
what
now.
Do we create? What vehicle do we create in order to get to the youth?
To prepare the future.
Uh-huh.
What you're doing right now, you're on your own right now, right? You're self-employed.
I'm self-employed. I run a boutique, a consulting boutique, and I work with a team of consultants. They range from accounting to management to HR to research. But the bulk of the work is really in research, because the things that we say out there, the things I teach out there, they need to be backed by research, backed by experience, out there. So I that's what I'm doing at the moment.
You spoke earlier on about leadership. I mean, what do you think sets successful people apart?
One of my mentor stroke coaches once said to me that the hardest object to open in the world is a closed mind.
Absolutely.
Right? A closed mind. And I think that aspect of a transformed mind, a decision, making a decision for the right, choosing positive, even if you can't see clearly, but you choose the positive, you choose to be positive, and you go against how you feel sometimes. Sometimes you feel like giving up, that you still do it. I think that is a game changer. And it's the item you need for success, your mindset.
Dr. Jeewa said at the beginning of the conversation that nothing happens by chance. Okay, excellence is never by chance. It's planned. And maybe your presence here can open up to a greater future, because I think the youth of today, not all of them, most of them,
right,
come with very closed minds. They're influenced by either parental influence or what they hear. And I don't know whether you'd agree with me, but I also think that they don't read enough.
So they
don't read enough.
Right.
Okay.
I would say to that, it is painful to read until the habit takes traction. So mastery really is about when you're in a state of flow. You don't become perfect, but you're in a state of flow, right? And there is a prerequisite to becoming a master. And that prerequisite is transformation of your mindset, right? Where you say, I am now going to make decisions that for the bulk of time at the beginning are going to be painful, like even physically painful, but I'm going to continue until I am now in mastery stage where even though I'm not perfect, but I'm in flow. Robin Sharma, I think, said that the victim, defining a victim is a winner. A victim was once a winner who got hurt and never wanted to feel the pain of recovery. So I agree with you. The youth is not reading. The youth is not reflecting. The capacity for self-reflection is very low, if it exists at all. The capacity to actually learn from the elders, respect for the elders, even if you disagree with them, by the way, but you still show them respect.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think, but having said that, all that, we're saying it against hope. We say hope is there. The potential exists. And as long as the potential exists, we only have to deal with the interferences that actually cloud and block that potential, so that there's performance. So performance equals potential minus interference.
But in order for somebody to end up becoming a good leader, don't you think that they have to have the necessary experience? Like you spoke about the flow. The flow is your training, right? You basically do something repeatedly, like any sport.
Yeah.
They become experts in the sport because they have training, and the one that excels in training for a long period of time goes up and elevate themselves. So the same thing applies in order for you to have leadership qualities. And maybe you can tell us some of the most important qualities in a good leader.
So I summarize the leadership qualities to 10 so far in my own research, in my own work, body of knowledge that I've created over the past 20 years. But I argue one thing. You might not have the 7, but you need to have the 3. The 3 are not negotiable, right? The first quality which I've mentioned is a radically progressive mindset, right?
Not like
No, definitely not like the EFL.
Okay.
So it must be a balanced mindset.
Mhm.
So when I say radical, at the same time progressive,
Mhm.
it's exactly what I mean.
Mhm.
Because if you are radical, you tend to destroy.
Mhm.
If you are only progressive, you tend
move
to
into a solution.
change nothing.
Yeah.
So you need both. And then secondly, you need the quality of a strong belief in yourself, specifically your natural talents, right? Which nobody can take away from you, by the way. You go to university. I went to university, unbeknown to me. I was actually polishing, galvanizing, calibrating this the endowment that I already had, right? So I went there to polish my skills and to learn about my skills, to learn about my talents. All right. I didn't go there to learn something totally new. No, it was within the area of my gifting. And then thirdly, you need to be a person of character, strong character, who is committed to a set of values. Now, I'm going to say something shocking. Maybe the listeners would be shocked by what I'm going to say. All true leaders are dead. I mean that physically, they're in the grave. All true leaders. There is no true leader that is alive today. And I'm talking politically now, right? Because if you think about it, if you are a true leader in politics, you don't live long. They'll either poison you,
Yeah.
they will
remove you from the
kill
equation.
you, they'll
Yeah.
do whatever it is. And you can even go to all the faiths in the world, all the philosophies and religions of the world, all the leaders that were leading and transforming people in all walks of life. They were either killed or
Assassinated.
correct. So hence I'm saying you cannot, you may not have all these other 7 qualities of a leader, but these 3 are mandatory. They are required. Right? They are required.
And these true leaders stood up against the biggest enemy of all, is the World Bank, right? John F. Kennedy, Muammar Gaddafi,
Right.
Saddam Hussein.
You name it.
Okay, I can go on.
You name it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stood and said, no, we will not be bought.
Exactly.
We will not be paid to actually go against our own people. We will not be bought. There is no price you can put on the importance of our children and their future. And they said no. And because they said no, they were killed. And literally so.
I see you playing a very big role in the future. That's why I don't think this happened by mistake. I think you can play a magnificent role in the youth and upcoming youth and transformational leadership and personal mastery. I'm a fan of personal mastery. You know?
Sure.
2 of the books I read that really influenced me was Up to Today, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? I thought was a powerful book. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits was
legend himself.
Now,
that particular book.
Sitting here today talking to you,
right?
I would say 2% of the people listening to us either know of both those books or read both those books.
True. Very, very true.
And that's why I think you can play a very pivotal role, because I think your responsibility and our responsibility sitting here is to make sure, and I agree with you, that the youth is ready for the future.
Sure.
Because after the Gen Zs, there's the alphas coming, worse than the Gen Zs.
Right. Right.
But speaking about the current leadership in this country, I mean, is there anyone that can basically turn things around or be a good leader? Is there hope? Because it doesn't seem like there's any light at the end of the tunnel at the moment.
So I don't want to be a bearer of bad news, but there are bad news.
That's what you said.
Yeah, there are bad news. We don't have currently leaders who can turn the situation around. And I'll tell you very, very quickly why I say that. Because we currently do not have any leader who wants to suffer for the future we want. We don't.
And those that we think we may have had,
Right.
we got rid of.
So we don't have. The leaders currently that exist, I would call them leaders of the moment, not leaders of the future. Let me tell you why I say that. You see, true leaders live in the future. They don't live in the present. They visit the present often, and they try and convince us, come to the future. There's something better.
There's something better.
They live in the future. And because of that, people like Steve Biko, people like Chris Hani, you name them, right? They were persecuted because what they were saying at the time was
for the future.
It was for the future.
Absolutely.
The people who persecuted all the struggle stalwarts and the activists, you name them, they could not see 1994. They could not picture it, right? Because vision gives a picture to purpose, right? When a leader is a visionary,
vision gives picture to purpose.
Correct.
Wow.
What that leader has done, Dr. Jeewa, is actually put their purpose in color. What is it, 4K? Right? So that is what a vision is. And the vision calls people simultaneously to the purpose of the leader. And they now believe in the leader, and therefore they join and then help the leader to achieve the cause. I'm saying currently in South Africa, we don't have leaders who actually define for us where are we going. We're not clear. All we're doing is we're trying to manage the petrol situation. We're trying to manage the crime situation. We're putting out fires as a nation.
We're fighting crisis,
right? But there's no vision that is attracting all of us, so that we all work together towards that same vision.
So right now we don't know where we're going.
We actually do not need more politicians in leadership. We need more leaders in politics. Let me say that again.
Define for me a cult leader.
Hey,
I told you I'm going to test you.
So a cult leader is someone who successfully bypasses people's will, people's independent thinking, and people's common sense.
Controlling.
So
but they got to be powerful to do that.
They've got to. Hence, I'm saying they successfully bypass it, and they get the person or the people to actually believe in them, not the content that they teach. That's why by the time they tell you, let's say, to drink petrol for your salvation, you're ready to do it.
Or spray doom on your face to survive.
Swallow a snake. You already believe.
Starve yourself to
correct. So by the time you get there, you already believe it. Because actually, by the way, and thanks for asking that question. Actually, most people don't realize that the people don't believe in what the leader says, per se. They actually believe in the leader.
True, absolutely.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Hence, Mandela was able to convince us of the Rainbow Nation project, despite the fact that it didn't come with land.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. 100%.
It didn't come with land. It came with fire, willing seller.
Yes.
So in the UK, during the Desert Storm, Tony Blair took the whole nation into a war. They had nothing to do.
Absolutely.
They actually
there was no war.
in Tony Blair. They didn't believe in the war. All right. So we need leaders who actually can be right themselves as individuals, as a cohort, and whatever the is, so that we don't just believe what they say, but we believe them as well, and that they are taking us to the right place.
So our friend Donald Trump is also a powerful leader, because they don't believe what he can take; they believe in him.
They believe in him.
Because you and I sit here and say, "How do you vote for a Donald Trump?"
Right?
And it's been shown that approximately over 200 psychiatrists in the United States have certified him to be a psychopath.
Yeah. I can believe that.
Now, have you noticed that the leaders of today are generally has characteristics of a narcissistic person.
Correct. The data show, in fact, that there is more of a leaning towards being a narcissist, right? Classic narcissist.
Mm.
If you're going to be any leader of any worth their salt, especially in the community, sorry, in the politics, in the world of politics. I always say that you cannot be a dragon who has no fire.
Exactly. And I'm saying that you cannot be a good
Reminds
leader.
me of somebody.
You-
Cyril.
You cannot be a good leader without having certain characteristics of narcissism.
Grace.
Now, every characteristic of narcissism is not bad,
Right.
okay? Because some of them that are very influential.
Right.
But when you become selfish, then it's bad. And if it's for your own gain, then it's bad.
So a transformational leader, therefore, is different in the sense that they understand that fact. And they therefore carefully
Manipulated.
show and actually practice the I would say the right side of narcissism.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
And they become mythical creatures, fine, but for the right reason. Because ultimately, it's what the leader is why the leader is doing what they're doing. Right? Why are you drawing us to this cause of yours? What's in it for the people, and more importantly, for the next generation?
Mm.
Here's a test. If you want to test any leader out there, here's a test.
Mm.
What are they doing with their current MO, modus operandi,
Yeah.
that will benefit us in the future, the next generation?
What I've noticed among leaders, specifically politicians and people that are running countries, you notice that the leaders that we have today are basically in there for the wealth. And if you look at the so-called good leaders and the leaders of the olden days, they never worried about wealth. They lived simple life. In fact, not so long ago, I think there was a prime minister, a president in a European country that still drives his own car, doesn't have the security. I think one of the presidents also who had led such a simple life, during the time, although they were the president or prime minister of a particular country.
Right.
Those are the ones that have humility, humbleness, and do not let materialistic things rule them.
So they were disruptors,
Mhm.
Of the status quo.
Now you call yourself disruptor. Tell us what's a disruptor.
The willingness to really be the voice of reason. They say in a multitude of foolishness, it is useless to be wise. I differ with that. I say that it's actually in the multitude and the multiplicity of wise people, wise men and women, that actually a nation is saved. We will be saved, and there will be a hope for the future of our children and our grandchildren when we currently, as the leaders, actually prepare the right foundation for it. We cannot say it's useless. No one is listening. No, we've got to do what we have to do and leave God with the consequences.
Absolutely.
But we cannot not try. We have to try. We have to push back, and then God will do the rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, coming to something to lighten the discussion, I mentioned this in a previous program a couple of days ago. And the question is, what did the wise man tell his wife? Brother Mohammed?
Hmm?
What did the wise man tell his wife?
Thank you for supporting me on my way to the top.
What's your answer?
You're always right.
No, he said nothing. So that's the wise man.
You see why he's my partner now?
Yeah, I
huh?
realize now. Right.
You realize it. We have a listener that says that even Jeff Bezos, now the third richest man, back in 1999, when he had 10 billion, drove a basic Honda and lived in a one-bedroom apartment. That's
Wow.
so Jeff Bezos.
Right. Wow.
Coming back to you were in front of people in parliament, law and policy makers, MPs, MPLs, councillors today. What would you ask?
I would ask one question. That question, whether it's in the form of a question or it's in the form of a statement, why is it in South Africa that the people who are in the corrective industry, right, the training industry, the psychologists, the teachers, the mentors, the coaches, why are they not rich in South Africa? Because from 1994, since 1994, if I was the ruling party and I was the policy maker, and here I don't want to talk individuals, I'm talking policy, right? Why is it that we created many other millionaires in South Africa, but not the industry that is actually helping at the professionals, that actually empower
the training industry,
the trainers, the psychologists, the psychometrists, the coaches, the counselors, you name it. That band of people, that sector, and I'm included in it, by the way. That sector should have been in South Africa 30 years later. It should have been one of the richest sector in South Africa, because we come from a traumatic past,
and we got the potential,
right? We come from a traumatic past. Why is it that we didn't invest in our trauma, mitigation of our trauma, even eventually eradication of our trauma? The many social ills we suffer with today, which is draining the budget, by the way. It's draining the budget like crazy. It is because we did not invest in the right professionals. All of a sudden in South Africa, as long as I suppose you passed metric, but as long as you were part of a certain political party, right? You didn't see the need to go to university. You are connected. All of a sudden you see you driving a Range Rover.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So there was something wrong with that whole arrangement. Something very wrong with that whole arrangement. So that is what I would ask them. Number two, following on that, just a subset of that, the body of knowledge, in inverted commas, the curriculum that is taught to our kids at school today.
Absolutely.
Right? I think we're not making the right noise. We're not making enough noise against this curriculum. Because in my own humble opinion, I do not agree with the curriculum that is being taught at school today. I don't know, these legislators and policymakers who actually produce the final policy statement in terms of our education, I'm not sure who's paying them, but somebody's paying them so that it remains the way it is.
Absolutely correct.
Right? There's a certain class that is being created over
I agree with you.
the past 8 years. And
it's been maintained at that level. Okay, they're not going to change it.
Yeah. And I think it's a project.
But then civil society must start making a noise.
Right.
That's why we're civil society, right? Yeah. I don't know where you were all these years. I mean, and I don't know what made you walk into Dr. Jeewa's surgery. So I don't think that happened by accident too.
Sure.
So we'll have to keep in touch, obviously, because I think I've got something in my mind that we need to discuss, maybe off air or on a later time. But I have passion for youth, and I think if we're going to leave them to play in the jungle like they're doing now, they're going to remain ignorant and not informed and have no idea what's transformation leadership. I've got no idea how personal mastery operates.
Right.
I've got no idea that when it's success, you look out the window to see who helped you. Right. And when you mess up, you look in the mirror and say, what did I do wrong? So I'd love to have you. I think it was a great interview to have you. And I must thank Dr. Jeewa to have introduced me to a brain like yourself.
Thank you.
But we shouldn't leave it here. I will leave that judgment for some other time.
Just before we end off, I just want to leave with some words of encouragement, support, or wisdom. What's the one skill you think everyone should have?
The ability to go against how you feel.
That's difficult.
Especially when you're wrong. Yeah. Right? And especially when something important needs to be done, but you don't feel like doing it.
Absolutely.
We need a youth and adult who buy into pain. all of a sudden we don't buy into pain.
But how do you buy into
Firstly, you make a decision. But secondly, when you buy into pain, for me, you are a passive investor into the future. Because nothing of significance was ever achieved without pain.
without pain?
Mhm.
Right? And I think also the extent that we have successful people in this world, I think that in our community, in our society, we need to get those people to buy into creating future generation, successful years, but disciplined. I find that the more successful you become, the more affluent you become as a society, as a community, even as a family, you tend to be less and less disciplined. Now, I'm not throwing a blanket on this. I'm not making a blanket. I'm just saying difficult times produce tough people. And then easy times, we know what they produce.
You know, I agree with what you're saying, and I want to attribute this to sport. I knew two excellent scholars that were excellent at the same sport. Let's call it hockey, for the sake of conversation. The level of skill was more or less the same. One came from a very disadvantaged background, and one came from a wealthy background. Who do you think made it to the top? You would know.
Yeah, must be the one that came from a disadvantaged background.
Absolutely. So your point of view that, and it's very ripe in our community, that you come from a wealthy family, you then join the business, and the wealth just grows. But you haven't experienced any pain at all. The pain must have been felt by your grandfather or your or the gentleman that established the business years and years. That's how you find certain companies in our community, and I'm referring to the clothing industry, which we were pioneers of.
Yes.
You'll find that in this day and age, they're gone. Okay, that handout policy and the policy of succession was never there.
Right.
So these wonderful businesses that were, and they were great businesses built by our forefathers and great grandfathers that were then handed down
under very difficult conditions.
And handed down. And I'm using the word handed down deliberately in the form that you've never have to work for it, because that's your father's business. Whether you went to school or pass doesn't matter. So you didn't go through courses of transformation leadership, of personal mastery, of leadership building, and you take over the reins and you destroy it. Today, some of the founding businesses in the clothing industry does not exist anymore. And it holds true to exactly what you're saying. So I don't know where you were all these years. Whether maybe we are waiting for you to become as ripe as you are right now, so we could now use you. I'm not too sure how expensive you'll be, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Message from Aisha. Salams to the trio tonight. Another dynamic motivator from Peter Marisburg. She says, Harala, Doc, you always attract illustrious personalities on your show.
True.
One is you.
And of course, yes.
Our guest is very learned, and MV couldn't stump him. Well done.
Actually,
who can transform the dynamics of this and the future generation except for disruptors?
Thank you.
Now, when you speak about disruptors, basically, it's about the mindset. So, a lot of times, a lot of problems arise from conflicts.
Yes.
And in these conflicts, they do not focus on the solution, but they focus on the problem and who's right and who's wrong. They go in circles until they both get tired.
Yeah. We need to start thinking differently about conflict. First and foremost, I always declare this to the people I love, right? Because I love you, I will confront you, right? And that's the it's the new game we need to play and subscribe to. That actually, conflict is good because through conflict, iron sharpens iron, and we should allow our feelings, right?
Fire can melt iron.
Sure. to take away true. We should allow our feelings to take away the beauty that is produced by conflict.
True.
Because it is only through conflict that actually I learn and other people learn my true feelings, my true self. When I am angry, right, when I become angry, I tend to say things, okay, I regret them later, but but they are the most truth. That's when you know, oh, so this is what this person thinks of me. I think also we're not using conflict profitably in our business, in our relationships, even in our politics. Some things that was said by former President Mutante recently on another show, which I will not mention, right? On another show, which is a podcast on YouTube. He said, yeah, I've got my own reservations about the GNU, for example, but there is a positive that the GNU has brought.
So.
He says it has brought a different kettle of fish in terms of capabilities. So all of a sudden you see a new kind of MEC, a new kind of minister and deputy minister in South Africa.
And things are happening right now. You know, I was in the sauna yesterday, and you know that people don't realize how interesting people you meet sitting in a sauna, because some of them don't know who's around them, and they start talking and they talk about everything that's supposed to be spoken about, and you tend to see the way they think and where they come from.
Dressed or undressed?
Dressed.
Let's check. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I love people. I can sit at the airport the whole day. Okay, and just watch people because that's so interesting, and people are so interesting. And we were talking about the GNU, which was never thought about before. Exactly as you say, past leadership had no vision that there is going to be a GNU. It had to take a demolition of the African National Congress and a wake-up call to say, listen, let's self-introspect now, look at it and say we need other people to help us. And it has some great improvements, right?
It does.
It's not the best thing that we're going to do, but it's, and I don't think it'll last too long. I think it'll last 5 years and then we'll go back to individual parties. And that is what we should work towards, a vision of the future. And you're right, and I agree with you. And that's why I love you so much, is that because the discussion I'm having with you resonates in my mind about everything that I also think about, and also we think about, and people listening to us also think. And we want to use you. No, sorry, I'll take that back. We want to abuse you, I'll take that back too. We want to work with you.
Plagiarize profusely.
We want to work with you.
Sure.
Because I think you have a fountain of knowledge that the youth, that future leaders, and people in this organization, by the way, can make use of. Because, but two questions asked. Is it really true that in anger, what you say is a true reflection of exactly the way you feel?
Most of the time, yes. A large part of the time.
It is.
Shakespeare, the profoundest of truth are said in jest or in anger. So the more extreme the emotion, the more truth comes out.
But at the same time, if you lose it and you get angry, are you not giving your power away to the opposite, the next person?
Look, you are. Right, you are. All I'm saying is we should approach conflict in a different way. Even if there's anger, because this is something we cannot control from each individual. There can be one individual who loses it, right? And the other one maybe hopefully doesn't. But be that as it may, what we should never lose sight of is the beauty that can come out of this conflict situation that will actually bring about the result we never thought of. I mean, think about the arrangement we have now, the GNU, we'll go back there, right? The major player, which is the ANC in this case, of course there's others, but the major players, you know, the way they negotiated this thing and, you know, against all odds, you could see that they were not just negotiating, they were negotiating for success because the opposite was not desirable. What is the opposite? They would go into extinction,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And what extinction am I talking about? If you don't get the vote, you don't get to be in power.
Mm.
That's the long and short of it in politics. You're either in power or you're
You
not.
don't. Yeah.
All right. So I think that we need to really invest and appreciate conflict. Actually, conflict is a friend, depending how you look at it.
Depending how you look at it. Exactly. It can be a friend brings out the truth,
Right.
and maybe after the truth comes out, you can sit down and have a resolution, right?
And I think transformation happens in spaces of reflection. It is often after somebody really, really challenged you on something that you go away and you think about.
But just the part about anger, I still maybe agree and disagree in some way or other. I think what's important, yes, it's the natural response to get angry. But then there is something called as controlled anger and uncontrolled anger.
Right.
And uncontrolled anger can become very dangerous.
It can be very toxic
Yeah.
as well. So human beings over the years, over the decades, I would say, over the millennium,
Or from inception.
right? We've come to a sort of a decent place. We're more cultured individuals now. Yes, we get angry at times, but we come from a place where our ancestors used to just butcher themselves and butcher each other. Today we fight
Some of the
different wars. Today we fight the wars of going to the stadium. Bloodless wars, I call them.
Yeah.
Right? We go into conferences and we argue points, we argue thoughts and theories. We fight a different game. If you think about it,
The word game.
when soccer was in its inception, soccer used to be a form of war, and the team that would lose would be killed. Right? Today we play a different kind of soccer. Top game, lot of money in it, lot of business in it,
a lot of people.
nations invest in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then eventually now in Holland, it reverted back to the olden days. The soccer match in Holland, where the Israelis now decided to use it as a form of war.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. So all I'm saying is that we really have to move away from anger, all right? But as long as that anger is controlled, we exercise, is it EQ? We exercise
EQ.
emotional
conscience.
There's a quote in the Bible that says, "Be angry, but do not sin." In other words, say that natural.
But when it comes to EQ, don't you think that's more important? IQ and younger generation should actually spend more time developing EQ?
I think so, especially with the development of the other two new intelligences as well. So if your IQ, which is dealt with by school and your own personal development and reading and whatnot, then you have to catch up with your EQ, because now there's MQ, there's SQ as well.
Yeah.
Right.
You know that there's people now, and I've got kids that live in Dubai, and I socialize with people from throughout the world that don't send their kids to school. Don't have a school curriculum to teach them. They teach them through the experiences of life. I'm not saying that's good or that's not bad. I'm not here to pass judgment.
Sure.
However, the questions of maths and science,
all right,
I think maths give you a logical mind and science give you an inquiring mind, right? And that's what we do it for.
Well.
And it actually humbles you because it makes you know that who's the boss at the end of the day. But I think that we need to move forward, because I think the alpha generation, thank God, I hope I'm not around to witness it, but these parents listening to us today, they've got kids from the ages of 2 to 8. I feel sorry for them,
right?
Okay, and I think you do too. And I think they'll need some parental skilling to be able to handle these alpha kids, because I was with my grandson last week, and he's shouting for some reason. He said, "Listen, what are you shouting to me for? Can't you talk to me properly?" Now, if I told it to my father, I would have got a clap from one side and the other side I would have got. Yeah. So I think we need this training. I think what you have to offer is so important, and I am going to use you. I think I just want to have a few discussions, because I still ask, where were you? I'm not too sure, but anyway. It was also wonderful having you. But there's another great book that I'm sure you've read or you heard about. It's by James Clear, Atomic Habits. exactly what you're talking about the pain, right? To get over the pain, you then work towards forming a habit. And it's the small habits that actually make that kind of difference.
But I've attended quite a number of these courses also, and also talks. My concern, and you might be the right person to answer this, we go to the talks and motivational talks and these marketing programs, and we got all hyped up and we all excited and we want to do it. And after a couple of days, we're back to our normal life.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have I have an explanation for that. I say people who attend courses attend a wedding. Right? That's the wedding part. It's all
fun and games.
Right.
Yeah.
The marriage starts when you leave that conference. The pain.
So you agree with me that marriage is pain?
I do. No, I do. But I just buy into the idea that nothing of significance
comes easy.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's pain. I think it's the two parties have to work together.
Right.
And again, it boils down and it boils down to communication.
True.
Again,
you're only saying that because your wife is listening to you tonight.
No,
so now you want to be this nice guy.
I'm talking from experience. I've been through different marriages, and I know where the shortcomings were. And I totally to be blamed because, again, and let's be honest, in a lot of marriages it's taking place. I mean, where the man is the man, and after it doesn't care about the woman's feelings, and the woman just becomes the mother, the housewife, the keeper of the children, the keeper of the home, and there's completely emotional detachment.
Okay, so how have you changed now for this new marriage?
For the whole night.
No, give us who's your guest? People want to know what's your name, so just tell it, please.
Go
I'll give you the opportunity.
Give us
market yourself.
Yeah, market.
So free of charge. I want to charge you for
and your books. Where
you get your books.
As long as I don't get any invoice.
No, you won't get it.
My name is Mbusi Zekalo. I'm the son of Twabaza. And I basically am a professional leadership speaker. I'm very specific about the leadership speaker part because that's the topic, that's the discipline I've studied over 20 years and have really, really poured my life into. I don't know many other things in the field of management except the leadership part. I operate from Hillcrest in the Devon area of Hillcrest.
So you're coming closer to Devon. You started Peter Marisburg.
I'm moving east.
Yeah,
I'm moving east.
No longer we don't go to the sea.
So, but in the main, I consult with organizations, both public and private organizations, and then I also get to become part of thought leaders because I really have something to say about transformational leadership. All right. To leaders out there. These are leaders who are forced by circumstances to become leaders. Some of them apply and they are promoted and they regret afterwards because they thought it's just the salary and the packs, when it's actually more than that, way more than that. I've written 4 books and I have in 2 months' time a 5th book to come out. And then I'm going to take a sabbatical after that because I want to now go on road shows and actually teach all these books
and workshops.
So where you get your books? Is that which bookstores?
My books are only available on my website, which is Umbusi Online Store. If you just Google that.
Umbusi Online Store.
Umbusi is UMBUSI. UMBUSI. Umbusi Online Store. And it's available there. All my books are available there. My books come in paperback format.
Approximately how many pages?
Sorry.
Approximately how many pages?
An average of 250 pages.
Just 250.
Average,
So it's easy reading.
It's easy reading. One of my books is a journal. You actually get to write on it as a journal, reflecting every day. The leadership journal for reflection has got 265 pages for each day of the year. So you need a book every year, basically, to actually write your thoughts and learn about yourself. My books also come in ebook format, where you can can read on your devices, and then they also come in
podcast.
You can listen to them as well in audio format. Yeah,
fantastic guest, amazing to have you. It was a pleasure talking to you. I would have spoken to you much longer than we are, but that's fine to have you. Thank you very much for your time and your effort to come here. Thank you to Dr. Jeewa. I'm not too sure why you chose him as a dentist, but that's left to you.
He didn't come to me for treatment. He actually was walking past and he met a friend of his who was coming for treatment, and they were sitting in the lounge and they got talking, and I overheard. And I got very intrigued because speaking about empowerment and leadership, and
wow.
So that's when I approached him. Yeah.
I asked him, how's that? But it was great talking to you. I mean, I felt so great talking to you. Thank you very much.
I should mention my social media handle.
Mention everything you want to mention.
Okay, so my social media handle is @Umbusi Ziqalo. So Umbusi, UMBUSI, Ziqalo is ZIQALO. Umbusi Ziqalo, one word. That's my social media handle.
You're from the Eastern Cape originally?
From Pietermaritzburg.
Pietermaritzburg, born in
You can hear the click.
Yeah. So Ziqalo is a Zulu word.
It's a Zulu word.
Ziqalo, yes. Which means the beginning.
Before you go, one more question. What you thought about Thabo Mbeki as a president?
A missed opportunity. A very, very missed opportunity.
You know what's sad? I had great confidence thinking that we had the right man. Yeah. But just became a puppet, just quite.
Truly a missed opportunity. And I say that when I compare his intellect, his training was groomed to be president.
I liked him.
You know? He could have done more, I think.
But you, as that's what you said, it was worked out, right? You know that.
Yeah. And if you don't toe the line, then you get pushed out. So that's why he rather keep fight.
And I also think it's going to take us a long time to get a president like him one day. I hope we do. But yeah.
I'm so glad we're on the same page. We may be reading different books, but we're on the same page. Thank you very much. Nice having you. It was wonderful having you. 19 minutes past the hour with 10. You're going to come to about Mohammed Variawa and Dr. Jeewa with a very special guest who's a motivational speaker. And I trust that you've heard this conversation. 0609041056. Tell us you're awake. It's 20 minutes past 10. We're only going to our third segment now on Palestine.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Snosom Kaiser, the technician. You are now listening to the biggest reality show, #Niteline, exclusively on Radio Alansa.